Good morning. It's a fall Saturday morning. Probably hear some of the wind from time to time as it's blowing through the trees and through the garden before we get the garden all finished off and put away. Some of those big leaves from the zucchini and some of the tomato plants and such. This morning I'm going to try something, a variation of something I'd seen done on another melting channel, and I will post a link to his channel in the description below. He made the comment about being able to cast aluminum in cast aluminum, and that got me thinking that maybe I could make my own mold out of cast aluminum, and then when I have just say a single ingot's worth, instead of packing my green sand mold of my ingots, that I can just pour it in this. I had this I didn't have this 3D printed. I 3D printed this, but I did not put a handle on it, and now I'm wishing that I had. I was just thinking when I originally put this together, some of those graphite molds that I see other metal casters use, and so I wasn't thinking the cast iron ingot molds, which all the ones I've seen have handles on them. So I will actually try to make a handle for this in the green sand. I will use my old runner bar. You can see runner bar that I haven't used in a while since I went to bigger flasks. I have a 3D printed runner, and when I get ready to cast this, I'll use this. I'm just not sure if that's going to be enough of a handle, even with gloves. I mean, that's butted right up against the mold. So what I might do is use this, but extend it out further and just kind of carve one in the green sand. All right, so I'll do my normal mold making here, and that'll probably be at increased time. If there's anything else I'll stop and say, I'll obviously slow the footage down so that you can hear me and not sound like a one of the chipmunks. Like many a fall day, starts off a little on the cool side, but if you do much work, it starts to get warm. Dress in layers here in North Idaho. Always dress in layers for the fall. All right, I don't think the molds are going to fall out on their own. I could probably get away with just picking this up, but this is the technique I was always shown, though, was to make certain that you had a board underneath so that your master wouldn't slip out on you. I suspect that was going to be all nice and tight anyway. However, I did put a lot of powder on it because I do want it to come loose. All right, I can see right now it's not going to be a functional problem, but it's going to bug me. I wish I would have 3D printed this with a handle, and I may go back and print a separate handle so that it'll set a flush level with the edge, because you can see that goes up at a bit of an angle. Maybe I can carve something out that's doable, because that will bug me over time. That will bug me over time. Many times I've tried to leave things like that in, knowing that functionally it's not going to cause a problem, hoping that at some point as I grow older such things won't be bothersome. It just hasn't happened yet. And since I anticipate using this a bunch, I'm going to do my best to try to fix it, see if it will eventually get to something I can live with. I always like to clean up the edges a little bit, and when I say clean up, what I mean is pull sand away from the edges. If it leaves a gap, that gap will be captured in the top half, and then this sand is on this side. It's pulled away from the edge so that when I lift these out, they'll lift out cleanly without breaking too much of the edge, thus helping to prevent unnecessary flashing. All right. Now I really want to make certain I've got plenty of powder down on the inside there, because when I pull the mold apart, I want to make certain that that whole area comes out cleanly. And I think the guy, the caster, who I was watching do this initially, I think it was something he had done that didn't help him any, because when he was with his first attempt at making his own cast, what had happened is that this one of the portions had collapsed on him, and I think I know what I can do technique wise to prevent that from happening to me. But today's been an interesting day, so even my best efforts might still prove fruitless. All right, now I am going to make certain I get facing sand down in there, because I want to capture that monogram. After I get in there though, then the rest I can just kind of pour. Halfway tempted to kind of pack that some. Debating that even as I'm going right now, whether or not I should do that. Yeah, maybe I should. Just at least lightly give this some additional pack. Hopefully that's not my mistake. Fatal flaw. Hopefully. Never done anything quite like this before, so this may end up being just completely experimental. There's another channel that I watch. The name of this one, I can, if I'm remembering right, Windy Hill Foundry. He has just recently retired, and I think he retired from his normal day job, and I think he is now going to take up doing his Foundry work, probably his post-retirement occupation and job. And I think I've seen him do that with molds that had cavities like that. I will have a link to his channel in the description too. The first one, I'll have a link to the specific video of making a mold of a mold, and then I'll link, I believe the gentleman's name is Clark. I'll link Clark's specifically. I got lost in thought there. I could not remember if I'd gone both directions in there. So if it looks like, wow, he's doing that a second time. Why is he doing that a second time? It means I forgot, because I got lost into thinking about a couple of those other I was thinking 70, but I don't know. My father-in-law, he's still competently driving. He's definitely up there in age. Okay, so I'm going to do something a little different here. And I wish I could remember, is it Melted World? I think it's a Melted something. Gosh, I've been watching his videos for well over a year now. And you'd think I'd have his channel. He's an Italian guy. And he wears, he's the one with the kind of the cyberpunk look when he's doing his castings, and a fair number of what he casts, he does so in an artsy sort of way, and I can respect that for sure. When he tried this, I think this might have been where he may have goofed. He did it very conventional, and so far I've done mine fairly conventional too, and at which point I would then lift this top half off of the bottom half and go from there with that solid piece, hoping that that solid piece comes out straight and everything's fine. His did not work. He did not make the mold that he was hoping to make, if I remember how that ended correctly. And he still wanted to test, though, the validity of casting aluminum and cast aluminum, and so he had something that was cast aluminum. It was a cover over something, if I remember right, or some sort of housing, and he just poured into that, and sure enough it held up just fine. But I think where he may have goofed, or where maybe he didn't goof, but maybe where his mold failed, is at this spot right here. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this and I'm going to actually flip it over and lift the first half that I packed, so that I'm not having gravity work against that extra weight of that sand mold of the inside. Since going to this particular flask, it's got a greater volume and it has a corresponding greater weight, but I got it. All right, so let's see what we got. If this works out fine, I'm expecting one of two things: all of my master parts to stay in this top half, and then what I'll have is the nice impression of the inside of that mold on the bottom, or I'll lift this up and the master will stay attached to the bottom. We'll see. Either way, I'll be happy. Oh boy, that's not what I wanted. It's part what I wanted, but not exactly what I wanted. Because of that right there. It just means I'm going to have to do a heck of a lot more cleanup. Darn it. Did not expect that. This I expected. I expected this stuff to stay in place. Okay, now this is already not going to work exactly the way I wanted it to work, but that's all right. Still, perhaps salvageable. Now this, I'm hoping, will come out just as easily as this released from the top. Tempted to just pull it straight off, but I'm gonna try to do it this way instead of grabbing the edges. Try to do it the conventional way. Maybe not. There we go. Nice. Okay, there's a little bit in there, which means then if I use this, those imperfections will be forever in my ingots. But I can live with that because the monogram still shows very decently. Shows very decently. All right, so let me move that to the side. Good sign so far. Good sign so far. This part though, not happy. Not happy. Okay, let's see if I can straighten this out some. Kind of curious if this video will eventually get me a copyright strike. Wifey's doing some painting in the house, and I can clearly hear, well, when I say clearly, I can hear. I can't hear it clearly, but I can recognize the songs as wifey listens to, she's probably listening to Pandora, and I clearly heard some Mercy Me earlier. Let's find out if Mercy Me is as bad as some other artists in terms of copyright strikes and such. Mercy Me may not even care. They may be thinking evangelically, and in doing so, they may actually welcome their music in the background of somebody else's video. Especially since the intention here is not to make money off of Mercy Me, that's for sure. Mercy Me is one of those bands, because this is not often true, in my opinion, of contemporary Christian artists. They had the talent, they got the skill, they got the sound. They could have easily competed in the secular music industry. Okay, more of that's going to break away. I'm going to try to shore that up some. Okay, trying to blow out as much of the loose sand in my crevices and cavities as possible. I think that handle's going to be decent. I mean, it's not going to be perfectly symmetrical, obviously, but I think it's going to be okay. I think it's going to be okay. All right. Set this guy aside. All right, I need to check the battery level here, so I'm going to just do a quick little pause. I may need to switch batteries. That was a good call on checking on the battery, because I only had about 16% left. I used to just plug the GoPro in so that I didn't have to worry about battery life. And with over 3 hours capacity on the filming, I wasn't worried one iota about the running out of film. Now, okay. Now let's carve in some vents and sprue and vents. That's what I'm trying to say. Now this is another one of those critical points. I want to do this without damaging that at all. Usually it's not a problem with doing this on this side, because I usually, or this half of the flask, because I'm just dealing with a flat surface all the way across. I don't have too much detail at all in there, and so then I'm able to lift this on the side, clean it all up. But I'm concerned that if I pick this up and put it on its side, that whole thing's going to fall off, and I don't want that. That would defeat the purpose of me doing this little change up. So I'm hoping that my sprue and vents make it through on the first go around, that it actually cut. And I'm going to lift this up a bit just to do we see air. Oh, that sounded bad. Sounded like some of my mold fell out. That's no bueno. All right, I'm suddenly now significantly less optimistic about this project. Now let's put this back together and see if we can make this work. I also have to make sure I put this down accurately. Oh, I can feel a finger underneath. Okay. I had a 1/4 inch of an edge, so I had some play while doing that. But I hope I didn't crush anything. What's worse is, though, I know what I'm going to see, what I'm going to find when I pick this up and lift it up. Yeah, gee. Darn it. That did not go the way I wanted it to go, which makes me think my sand was drier than it should have been, that this didn't hold together. It felt good, at least the top portion when I started, but I think I had a dry spot, ran into a dry spot of sand. I only get that problem when the sand is too dry. All right, on the bright side though, I was gonna make this my sprue. I'll make that my sprue, and my basin is already cut, so I don't have to worry about that. The question though is, I rely on these two vents to provide extra pressure to make certain that the mold makes it all the way through and it reduces shrinkage, and that the metal pours throughout the whole mold. But as soon as I get up to this point, this one is not going to fill any higher than that point, or however much, and I might do well, we'll see. We'll see. I think it may still work. Not the way I planned it though. I'm going to be using my number 3 crucible today. I just have the one pour and then any excess into a mold for an ingot. And so I got out my trusty scale, and I've got just over 3 pounds of leftovers. You can see I've got the runner, gate, and trap of a previous pour, and then a whole bunch of vents here, and then some other miscellaneous ones. And then I think this is the last of my muffin ingots. All of that equals to just over 3 pounds, and so that should be more than enough to do the job. Oh no, I did not hit the record button on that pour. Oh boy, what a bummer. It's kind of the way the day's going. I thought sure I hit the record button, but then when I went to turn it off, nothing. Anyway, so I was pouring in here, and everything was pouring the way that it was supposed to, although it looked like this cavity was going to fill up before it came out of here. I was hoping it would come out of here, but this is obviously lower. The other comment that I made to a camera that was not recording, now I'm thinking I had hit the record button and maybe this overheated, and that's why it didn't record, because this just shut off. Boy, this video is going to be all sorts of kind of messed up and broken up, so I'm not sure what this is going to be. Just know that I may have completely missed the pour, or I may have gotten some of the pour, I may have gotten some of my explanation, and I may have gotten none of my explanation. Anyway, I think the flask might be responsible for this breakaway as much as lack of water content in the sand. In fact, the more I think about it, I think it may be the flask right there. I need to make certain that I put my vents and sprues and basin on this side when I use my flask. And I just barely had enough for that pour. That's the leftover. I was thinking I was going to have more of an ingot than that. All right, I'm going to let this GoPro cool down some before I break these molds and see what happened. Sorry for the quality of this video. It's not turning out the way I'd hoped. That's all good. Now I've gotten some feedback from a viewer or two about them not being particularly pleased with the my unmolding. I think they think it is too long, too tedious or such. I get that. So I'm just going to pull this off and not show the whole molding. Now that's unexpected. Maybe I will end up showing more of the, and part of my flask came apart. Show more than what I was originally intending. So to that particular viewer, I do not remember who you were. I do apologize. If you are a subscriber and a regular viewer, you might just want to fast forward through this part maybe. A lot of people do fast forward through parts of my videos. It's not uncommon for only a fraction of my video to be viewed. Did it work? I can see that it didn't. Now, I had the same problem that the other channel had. It did not work. Either that or I did this all backwards. I'll have to double check my mold, my master. Now, that's definitely a fail. Here I am looking at making another attempt at trying to make a ingot mold out of aluminum. This did not turn out, obviously. This should not be here, and there should be a flat piece here, and then of course on the other side should be the bottom of the mold that would make my monogram. However, I kind of like the way that my improvised handle sort of worked out, although I could probably use it to be a little bit longer. So I think I'm going to cut that off, and I think I'll use this piece again on my retry. We'll see how this works. I'm about ready to make a second attempt at this cast aluminum ingot mold. A couple things in looking at the video footage of the first time around. I think I know where I made my mistake, and what's frustrating about that is that I was intending specifically not to make the mistake that I made, and I think I just got caught up in the filming and stuff and talking and all that other sort of stuff, and I wasn't paying attention. The one thing that I am going to do is space the handle out a little bit farther so that it gives me a little extra handle room. Kind of like the way that shape is, and I can take care of it in cleanup later, but I think that's going to work. I had it come out a little bit further. I think I've got it about centered. I sure hope so, because if it's too far off, it's going to drive me nuts. But everything else I think is exactly the way that I want it. I also double checked to make certain that where I put my sprue, that it's not on that broken piece like it was last time. So we'll see if this ends up working out. The one thing that I'm not sure about, because I'm going to be venting it. Hold on, I may have just goofed. Looking at this, may have. Oh no! I think it's still going to be okay. No, it's not. I got to do this. There we go. Oh my goodness! Did I just save myself a lot of extra work? Because I want the sprue here, a vent here, and a vent here, and then I'm trying to decide whether or not I'm going to want to put a vent on the top of this. The reason why I think that I might not want is that I don't have a lot of room, and so I've been kind of going back and forth on that whole thing. Boy, am I glad I talked my way through this, because that would have messed everything up had I done that wrong. This trap's not going to work though with it that way. So what I'll do is I'll cut into the I'll put this on the other side when I in fact I can take, well, let me think about this. I may want to put the bar, as I'm trying to think my way through this with this being upside down. This might be running into what I'm running into right now, might be why I didn't catch it last time around. Alright, I'm going to think this thing through, turn the camera off. I'm probably not going to show ramming it all up, and I'll just capture the pour and then breaking it out of the mold, and hopefully that'll take a bunch of the distractions off of me as I work my way through this. All right, I'll turn the camera on when I get ready to pour. I know I said I was going to wait until it was time to pour before I turned the camera back on, but then it occurred to me that I probably wanted to at least get this step or this look in the event that I ever try to cast a bell. I think I want to make certain that I'm doing it this way, mainly because that was what my original intent was to cast this like I was casting a bell, and then I confused myself as I was going along. Wasn't paying attention, wasn't sticking with the plan. All right, so the portion that I have here, I'm getting ready to do the second half. This second half is going to be the bottom, and that's where I goofed last time, that I decided to keep this the top, and that's not what I wanted to do when I was doing it. I always wanted this to be the bottom so that this inside cavity wouldn't be suspended, because I think what happened is that fell down into the cavity, and that's why this top part here filled up with aluminum, because there suddenly was a gap the width of this mold here, and then of course it left it open at the bottom because there was a bunch of sand sitting on it. No chance for the sand to go anywhere. So I want to make certain that when everything is said and done, this part right here that I'm getting ready to ram up, it has to stay the bottom. So the bigger handle here has got to be on the bottom. All right, that's all I wanted to do. So now I think I'll be satisfied in waiting till the pour. One more thing, not quite to the pour yet, but I also wanted to make a mention of this, that in order for my excuse me, my runner and my trap thing to work, I need it to also be on the bottom. And so then what I'll do is I'll just cut the gates into the runner, which ought to be super easy to do. Shouldn't cause a problem at all. So I wanted to capture that as well. Sadly, that's a failure. I must have rammed this too tough, too hard, trying to get that detail in. I did it, I thought I had done it just like I had before. Okay, here's the beautiful thing. I think what I can do is just tear this apart and try it again, and see if I can salvage this. And I may even give my sand a little more moisture. Okay, I'll try this again, see if I can salvage this. Well, I'm about ready to give this another try. One of the beautiful things about the problem here is that this was just going into a cavity, so I didn't have to worry about whether or not there was going to be some details that were going to get compressed or smashed or whatever. So that was quite fortunate. I consider that quite the blessing. And maybe this project will come through after all. Okay, and so I'm going to give it another try. I could have swore that when I did this last time, I did kind of tap down in that cavity to make certain that that the monogram came through. I just absolutely plastered this with talcum powder, so we'll find out as to whether or not there can be too much of that in this, and I'll give it another go. Trying to decide whether I want to tamp that down or not. We'll see. If it fails again, we'll see. We'll see if whether I've got the resiliency to give it a third try. Well, I decided to be brave, and this just finished my second go at this, and figured, oh, hey, why not make it a reveal? Excuse me for being so winded. I've actually been sick the last week or so, and what started off as a head thing then turned into a sinus thing, and then turned into a lung thing. So I've been doing a little bit of wheezing and coughing and such like that, but let's see if this one worked. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Okay, I remember this being the way it happened last time. I think I can live with this. I think I can live with this. All right, I will press on. Now I think I can safely say I'll wait till the melt. right, so let's see how this goes. Now, I'm actually wearing a respirator. That's something I did before, since all of my work has been done out in the open. I didn't think a respirator was necessary. However, I've been doing some stuff with ooh, that looked like a good pour. Doing some stuff with some PC boards. And because I'm doing stuff with PC boards, I need to have something for all that dust and gunk. Alright, let's hope this doesn't pop. I didn't, not too bad. I'm hoping that what I just poured is a success, because if it is, then I won't need to do this anymore. It's too bad this respirator doesn't make me sound more like Darth Vader, although with the breathing in and breathing out, I can hear something. Alright, I'm not sure this is going to actually turn out the way I hope. I felt something when I was putting the two halves together, and I'm so afraid I scrunched the block of sand. We'll see. Something poured. It took as much metal as I was expecting it to, so who knows. I'm going to let this one sit. Sometimes I get over anxious and open those things, but I'm going to let that one sit for a bit. I'm probably just going to show what it looks like when I open up the top. There may not be a sizzle time in this this one. I swear that flask is getting heavier and heavier each and every time. Ugh. Well, that may have worked. Oh my goodness, that may have worked, because that looks hollow. All right, I wasn't going to spend a lot of time on molding, but I have to know. Oh my goodness. Sorry about my excitement. Heavens. I was really expecting a failure, because I thought I felt something move. Oh, it almost did it. It almost worked. Oh my goodness. Trying to contain my enthusiasm. Oh my goodness, look at that. It almost worked. I must have bumped it. Hand, let me grab. A little warm in there. Last thing I need to do is jab a finger in there. Oh my goodness. Yeah, it looks like I hit something right there. But it almost worked. And it still may be quite serviceable. A little bit of flash here, flash around there. Not a big deal. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Yeah, it looks like I got a little imperfection there. But I think it still may have worked. Wow. All right, all right. I'm just going to kind of soak this in. I'll, wow. I'll show a little bit later. All right, getting ready to do a pour here. The leftover is going to go into that mold that I just made. I didn't do a lot of finish work on it because I'm watching my pour here because I wanted to make certain it was going to work first. So only did a minimal to kind of do stuff on the sides there, as you can see probably in the video where it's a little shinier. All right, so far so good. I'll dump that out and see if it actually works. I've got it propped up because it wasn't 100% stable, and I didn't want that to move as I was pouring. If this works, if this comes out of the mold cleanly, I will cut that up. This part here, the gate's off, and then I'll clean up the handle and the edges and make it look nice and pretty. All right, I'm gonna let that cool down. I'll come back when it's time to take it out of the mold. Okay, that looks like that might be hard enough to give it a shot to see if it's going to demold. How cleanly it does. And the answer is, it did not. Well, that's a bummer. Although I did notice one thing. First of all, that's very hot, but look how much cleaner that got. That just shined right up. The whole thing was that color at one point. All right, now, I suppose it's possible. Two things. It's not, wasn't smooth enough on the edges. And the other thing is that there was some deformation around the F. So it's possible it grabbed on to that. Could try putting it in the water here and see if that would knock it out. Although it is behaving like a lot of cast iron molds that I see where the ingot doesn't want to come out. All right, well, let's give the water a try. See if it'll come out after that. Get this in focus here. Not in focus, but in frame. Okay, let's try it. Who knows, maybe it'll come out. Whoa! That was something. Thinking there's a space in between that steam got in there. Now, let's see if it wants to come out. It doesn't. Well, bummer. I'll have to go back to the drawing board on that one. But I need to cool that down. That's pretty warm. Well, shoot. I was hoping. I'll revisit that later.